back to another episode of Nutrition TV. Today I'm very happy to be joined by Simon Henry, who is a Leicester-based professional boxer. Today we're going to just discuss areas of boxing, touch upon boxing nutrition, training, and hopefully talk about some hot topics in the boxing world as well. So thanks for coming down, Simon.
You're welcome.
It's been getting him down here. It's great. Get some boxing wisdom. And obviously I'm a big boxing fan and I do some boxing training, but for someone to have been through various camps and put your body, your mind to the limit and tested yourself in the ring, it's just going to be great to just get your input on things, hopefully learn some things off yourself. So yeah, obviously you recently had a fight. You've had 6 fights at super welterweight.
No, well, super, light middle.
Light
super
middle.
welter,
Yeah.
light middle.
Yeah. It's a good weight at boxing. And so yeah, I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you is why you started boxing and kind of your journey, how you started boxing, what pushed you to pursue the sport, and kind of what has happened since, from the start to where you are now.
Okay, yeah, well, I first started or thought about boxing just because I wanted to get doing something. At that point, I was about 15, 16, and I played football, but I was never gonna make it as a professional. So I was like, I need to turn my hand at something else. And my granddad used to box, and my mum used to talk about my granddad and how he used to box, and how she used to, or how he taught her some tricks and whatnot. So one day I asked her if she could speak to me about taking me to a club around Leicester somewhere that he knew of, where I could start boxing. So yeah, she spoke to him, and he came down one day, and we went to look for a club. I was 16 at this time, so I think this was just probably 2000, just before 2000, beginning of 2000, end of 99, and then I started in 2000. But we looked for a club. It was a club he'd boxed at, or had a fight at, or had fights with people from that club in his day. So it was quite a well-renowned club. It was called Belgrave ABC. It's just no longer. It doesn't exist. It's now closed its doors, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went down there. We found out when it was open, the opening hours, and then I think following week I was down there, and then pretty much we used to go up twice a week. He drove down from where he lived. He used to come and take me up. And to be quite honest, if I don't think if he hadn't come every two times a week to come pick me up to take me, I don't think I would have stayed on it at the time, because he did that for about a year. And obviously by that time, I'd become more involved and become something I enjoyed doing. And then obviously I got registered, and by the time of 18 I turned out, I had my first first amateur fight with the club. And then I probably fought, within the first year I had about 4 fights, and I started off well, and then I was about 18, 19 at the time, and other things outside of life start to distract you.
Yeah. You
start doing other things, so boxing became something as more of a hobby than something I was pursuing.
At that age though, you see a lot of boxers, and they think because they can throw a punch, they're a bit fit, they train 2-3 times in the gym a week.
Yeah.
That it becomes that everything to them, and some of them take it and are very disciplined and see it as a profession. Some of them use it in the wrong way, and in a way to impress the other things.
Yeah, well, I came from quite an estate, so to speak, and a lot of people like fighting in the street. So you being able to box, was an indication you could be a threat. So in any indication socially, with the people you lived around and your friends and your peer group, they were always looking to say, oh yeah, but could you do this, but could you do that? And then when you're young, it has an impact on you. So you just kind of go along, you know what I mean, and you kind of do what they're doing and forget about your boxing, because I'll be alright with these But then over the years, as you get older, you know, you have to identify what's important to yourself. And obviously boxing was always there. So over the years I was in and out of doing boxing, fighting, on and off, you know, inconsistency. And probably, I'd say it was what time, 2006. Yeah, 2008 is when I decided to go back into doing it and having a go at something substantial. So, for instance, an ABA, going fighting in the ABAs, or at least trying to get to the Midland level or win a novice, because at that point I'd still had under 20 fights, so I could still fight in the novices. And I had a good chance to win the novices because I'd previously been in the Midlands final, so you know I had a good chance of winning that. And so I went back into it. And
what made you go back into it? No, what was it that?
What it was is my granddad passed away, and like up to that point I had never really fulfilled what he probably would have liked me to have fulfilled while he was still living. You with me? So I felt a little bit of a debt to him for introducing me to the sport. That gave me so much over the years. You know what I mean? Because like I got a lot from it. Do you know what I mean? It gave me a great deal of confidence, and you know, at a time probably when you know you could go one way or another. Do you know what I mean? And it gives you grounding in a sense, because you know it doesn't matter what these people tell you. In a fight, you don't know what someone else could do. Yeah, and you've got experience of that, because there's all kind of people in the gym, and some are not always the most intimidating, but they still take your head off. Do you know what I mean? Inspiring. And it's just like, well, that takes all those and blows all those myths out the water about certain people being certain ways. Do you know what I mean? So, and you kind of then look through the people that are telling you other things. You with me? And as you grow older, you just you establish your own principles and your own morality, and you know, obviously boxing's a part of that. So yeah.
So clearly, it's a part of your lifestyle now. You know. It's
yeah. Obviously, even when I'm done, and like even outside of my job and boxing, I'm coaching or helping or giving people some advice, or you know, in any which way I can involving in boxing. I try to, you know, help people, advise people, you know, be involved, because people come to you. You know what I mean? Regardless of how big you are, if people know or seen you box, or I've taken a class with you, generally, you know, they have a connection with you then, and then they'll come to you as an advice, because you're in their source of that information. So, you know, it's good to be responsible with that, and not to kind of, you know, to promote boxing in a positive way and not in a negative way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a sport. We were discussing how boxing there's a lot of traits to a boxer. You get a warrior, you get someone who learns the sport and who is very technically gifted at the sport. But then you get a great boxer who's a bit of a combination of both, or someone who's very good at mastering either one. But at the end of the day, boxing is a sport. It's a very detailed, the word you used earlier, mechanistic sport. You know, you have to. It's not just about throwing a punch and hoping it. You know, you're there. You're calculating the distance. You're doing a combination which draws the player, you know, your opponent into certain situation, which is something you practice in the gym all the time. And so a lot of people see boxing as a warrior sport. You know, they want to see the brutality and people getting knocked out. But at the end of the day, it's about being a fighter, being an artist, and not getting hit. You know, that's what we were talking about Mayweather.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of are aware of his status in the sport, but they try and use certain kind of areas in his personality against him.
Yeah. He's flashy.
He's
flashy. He's too overconfident.
But he's earned that, obviously, and he's entitled to do what he wants.
He's paid his dues.
You know, anyone. And boxing's all, you know, people grew up watching Rocky, and you know, and boxing's always been, you know, that underdog kind of sport where you don't come from the best. You've not had the most extravagant upbringing, and it's an inner desire to succeed at something that is so coherent with a human being's kind of nature as well. You know, to fight, to be dedicated, to be disciplined. So
the masses and the individual make an emotional connection with the underdog, especially. You with me? And in all circumstances of sport, like take the instance for the FA Cup, when there's a big team against a little team, everyone's hoping and praying that the little team will pull off some miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone's getting behind the big team that no one likes, or getting behind a small team to beat the big team that no one likes, because they're winning everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it transfers to everything, do you know what I mean? And yeah, like you say, it's part of the psyche of humans, do you know what I mean? Like, we do like to watch other people participate as entertainment, so to speak. You know, it's entertaining. And as well, at the time, people can get a lot of aggression out vicariously through watching.
Yeah.
You with me? So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, carrying on that perspective, we had a little conversation earlier, and we were talking about the huge rise in interest of mixed martial arts, or MMA, UFC. But mixed martial arts has been a profession that has been kind of existent throughout history in its kind of heights, but it's not received as much attention or media attention as it has over the last kind of half a decade, maybe 10 years or so.
10 years, I'd say that's 10 years. It's you know, it's growing in momentum.
Yeah.
Now it's alongside boxing as one of the biggest, spectator contact sports.
Yeah.
You with me? It's still boxing, probably just above it still. But
yeah, of course.
it's outstripped all the others. Just like the simple things of
think that. How hard is it for a boxer who's coming up from the ranks, who has fought as a professional? It's so difficult for a boxer to reach those levels where they're being shown on television, or they have millions of fans, because it is an individual sport, and some might say if you're good enough you'll make it, but how hard is it to make it at that level, because there's so much against you as your own, you haven't got big companies promoting you haven't got individuals, celebrities and so on talking about it. So for an individual who can fight, who puts in the work in the gym, just as any other, big boxer out there does, he's still putting in the work, he's still training, he's still eating well and so on. It is surely very hard to make it to that top level, because you've got so much running, kind of working against you at the same time.
There are a lot of things work against you, especially in this particular time in terms of boxing. Like maybe 30 years ago, boxing was different, promotions of boxing were different, and the way events were organised and televised, and over the last 30 years that's changed a lot, do you know what I mean? Like with Sky and now with smaller promotions that don't get televised, and there's a lot of stuff to do with health and safety and all the other costs that come associated to that. Not just like health and safety, that's the reason. It's just there's a lot of costs associated to having good crowd management and health and safety. Do you know what I mean? And these make putting events and boxing events on harder.
Yeah.
So like for promoters who don't have the backing of TV, companies, or other big icons or other previous good promoting groups from years gone by, who've already got that network of people behind them, it's hard to, you are solely relying on the boxer's ability to sell tickets, do you know what I mean? You don't have the promotion machines to go out there and be all over social media and be on the news, and you don't get all these opportunities. Again, we do live in a good time in the sense of we do have all these other alternative medias, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, to promote yourself. But obviously, because of the bigger industries out there, they have an echoing effect in their world, which you can never really match, and because it builds up an expectation in people's minds to what they see in the mass media about sports people and sporting events. A lot of the time it's hard to convey the same amount of hype just on a day-to-day basis with people who in your own community, because they're so attached to the mass media.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to get your individual self across to people. You can do, it depends on what kind of a person you are. You can be the individual that believes that, believes everything they're saying. And there are those people out there at the end of the day. And you know, personally, I'm a realist, so I'll never overextend past, you know, what I believe in myself. Do you know what I mean? And I extend it, you know, extend to others to believe in me. But other people just like to, you know, talk and talk and talk. And just, you know, people like that because it plays into the thing they're used to. But, you know, for myself, it obviously makes it difficult to, you know, a lot of the time to sell tickets, to fight on the home shows that my own promotion group put on. So I, my manager, he put shows on. I'll tell you something interesting. I'll give you the breakdown of the costs so people out there can understand.
Breakdown of the costs.
The breakdown of the costs, yeah, because some people, you know, have got kind of heady expectations of what they're going to earn. Well, I'll break it down like this. If you want to break a fight down, right, a 4-round fight, 100 tickets at £30 a ticket. Yeah, that's £3,000. Okay. Now out of that £3,000, now that's just 100 tickets. Out of that £3,000, £1,200 is going to go to your opponent. Yeah, that's his fee. Yeah, right. They're going to get paid well for appearing on your show, and it's the same way if you go fight on someone else's show. Yeah, regardless, he'll get £600. The boxer, the fighter, as your purse. That's your money, right? And on top of that, you'll get 10% of what the tickets you sold to, right? And everything else goes to your manager. But it's 100 tickets is a lot of tickets, yeah? And generally, I could probably sell about 40 to 50. Yeah, I think the best I did was 70, but you know, generally, it's a struggle just to get that. And even then, it was like the last week, I probably sold about 30 tickets. Do you know what I mean? So in a training camp, you don't even know whether you're going to fight, because if you can't sell enough to even cover your opponent, you won't fight.
That must be obviously very difficult psychologically on you, because you're having, or you'd love to place as much focus and energy into the training, into the camp, but then you know in the back of your head there's something there that's just knocking on the door every day. Every time you walk into training, you're ready to put your all in, but you know there's a chance you might not. And obviously it's great, you're still getting fit at the end of it, and you're clocking up the hours in the gym, whatever. But at the same time, the kind of the final result of a camp, at the end of a successful promotion, whether you're a big level or a local level, is to have a spectacle.
That's what I want to do as a boxer. I want to put a spectacle on. I want to impress the fans.
It goes back to the mainstream, you know, the media, and people would pay thousands to go and watch a Mayweather fight because it's Mayweather. Yeah. Because it's on TV and everyone's talking about it, and it must be frustrating.
But to pay £30 to come watch someone they know and probably grew up with,
It's a
stretch. You know, and I understand in certain circumstances. So generally, if you're not on television or you're not, associated to big promoters, that's how it will work for you. You don't have big contracts. You don't get, another thing that a boxer has to do every year is pay money to the British Boxing Board of Control. That's £150 every year to renew your license. £300 for a brain scan or a doctor's medical. You have an eye test. And in total it's about £400 or £500. Before you've even earned any money fighting, you've spent 650 quid.
Making sure you can. That is hard, isn't it?
But yeah, it's hard. But again, it's a sport I love. Yeah. So, I didn't get into the sport for the money. I knew when I got into it, this is how it would be. I was hoping that, I could get enough support for a few fights and do well. And I could, from there, things can happen. And even saying that I've had ups and downs on home shows, it just meant I didn't fight regular in the first 3 years. But things are going well now, even though, in terms of the results haven't gone well, my name has been received higher now. So in terms I fought at the O2 Arena in October, and then I just fought for Masters Bronze title in Norwich. On a show that was televised or streamed live, and got good coverage in the boxing news, and so there was some other boxing big wigs at the event. So it's a name that will reverberate through now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you're just a name on a piece of paper, we don't know who you are. But now there's a face to go with that name. You with me? So that part of the not knowing whether you'll fight is not so bad now, because I know that I'll get opportunities now to fight on other shows.
Yeah.
But it's all about being in great condition and always being ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for the opportunity to come, because you'll never get a good preparation period. You just got to be ready, innit? And when the chance comes, you got to take it. You know what I mean?
That's taken us nicely into that preparation when you're fighting. So it is obviously very important for you to stay on top of your training, on top of your diet, to maintain that professional conduct throughout the year. So just talk us through your kind of your weekly routine, your training, and then we'll touch a little bit upon the food as well.
I've got all the things in place there to train and to be prepared, ready for whatever circumstances may arise. You with me?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good. That's good.